Hello there, I'm Sean Greasley and welcome to another edition of our DirectX tutorials. In this tutorial I will be providing an example how to generate 9 squares on your DirectX application. So let's see how we can go about this. Firstly, we use the translation function within DirectX. So if we just preview this program here, we can see a square moving along the x-axis. We're going to use the translation example in order to move the shape. Then when it stops where we want our first square, we're going to stamp it. As it moves along the x-axis, we're going to stamp it again. Then we're going to change the coordinates to do a row down, so it's going to look kind of like a 3x3 grid, for example. So we don't want to update the x coordinate every time, so let's get rid of that. If we preview it, as you can see, you can't see the shape. We've disabled the motion of the shape. Now let's get the shape in focus. I think something like say -15, about 35 and 5. Let's see how that looks. So something like that. So if we change the y to about 15, it should put it near enough in the top corner. There we go. So we want a shape here, a shape here, a shape here, one here, one here, one here, and 3 more underneath. Let's see how we can go about this. We have already rendered one shape. We just need to further render the other 8 of them. So let's look what we're dealing with here. This is setting up the camera, so this is nothing to do with what we're doing here. This is ending the scene. This is nothing to do with what we're trying to render. What we're focusing on is the translation function and the actual function which draws our shapes on the screen. Remember, each square is consisting of 2 triangles, so we're drawing 2 triangles, each stamping of our translation function. So what we need to do now, we know that we're only using the x and y axis in order to do this. We're not touching the z axis at all. So this can stay the same. But instead these values need to change each time. So let's see what we can do here. So let's generate a multiple for loop, for example. So x is less than 3, so 0 to 2 is 3 squares. Increment it by 1 each time. Then generate a second for loop using y, and end the braces at the bottom here. Let's tab this out so we can see it a little clearer. Oh. Okay. So we've created a cascading for loop as an example. So when x is 0, y will be 0, then x is 0, y is 1, and it will keep going like this. So while x and y change, we can change the x and y positions of our translation function here, and that is being kept the same. So if we preview this, as you can see, not much is happening. We have got 9 squares here, they're just layered on top of each other. Now, I think these 2 warnings here is the conversion from int to float. It's because these 2 functions here require float values. So if we specify float here, we should remove those 2 warnings. Now, as x and y only take values between 0 and 2, our shape transition on the application ranges from about, let's scroll up, -15 on the x-axis to +15, +15 on the y to -15. So it would help maybe if we incremented the for loops by values of 5, for example. So if we started at -15 with the x, that's our starting square, while x is less than, say, how many would that be? If we increment by, say, 10 each time, or 20 even, then we want to generate 3 squares within this. So this will take us to -5 to +5 to +15. No, sorry, -35. We'll try that. So if we start obviously -5 at 35 and end it -35 when it's more than 35, and increment y by -20 each time. So let's try and configure this. Okay, as you can see, we have 9 squares spaced out by 20 each time. So if you think of one of these shapes as 10 here, then we've got our shape which is 10 and a space of 10. If you want to adjust this, you can change this to maybe 15 or something. 15. This will then take us to 15 each time, 30 I imagine. Don't quote me on that, but we'll have a look. Yeah, it wasn't 30, it was probably about 20 maybe. But as you can see, you can get the general idea. Do bear in mind that when using for loops of x and y, you need to specify x and y in your translation function, and also use realistic incrementers, so the counter angles do apply and you can see your shapes more efficiently when you run your program. So I've been Sean Greasley. Thank you for listening to our tutorial on generating 9 squares within DirectX. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and stay tuned for more within the collection. I'm Sean Greasley, and goodbye.